Have you ever felt a shift in the ground beneath you? A subtle tremor that tells you something fundamental is changing? Well, something just like that is happening right now in the silver market. It's a seismic shift. And believe me, it's not being driven by the usual investors or the typical market noise. We are witnessing a $500 billion bet being placed, not on silver the investment, but on silver the irreplaceable industrial metal. Welcome to the Bullion Signal Podcast. I'm your host, and today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most significant and I think underreported stories in the precious metal space. We're talking about the silent, voracious new appetite for silver that is rewriting the rules of the entire market. If you're here to understand the deep currents of the macroeconomy and how to protect your wealth, you've come to the right place. So stick with me, because what's happening with silver could be a preview of what's to come for all critical commodities. So let's just start with the headline number. In 2025, the price of silver absolutely exploded, surging by over 120%. Now, to be clear, that's not just a good year. That is the single best annual performance for silver in recorded history. When you see a move like that, your first instinct, and it's a good one, is to think speculation. You picture hedge funds piling in, retail investors chasing momentum, the classic commodity bubble. But here's the twist. This time, that's not the real story. Not even close. So if it isn't the familiar rush of investors that we've seen so many times before, what on earth could cause a move this violent, this historic? What is this new force that can push a global market to its breaking point? The answer, as you'll see, is far more structural, far more permanent, and it has profound implications for the future of technology and, by extension, the entire global economy.
I want you to forget everything you think you know about traditional commodity cycles for a moment. The demand we're seeing today isn't cyclical, it's foundational. It's coming from a completely new and unbelievably powerful group of buyers. And here's the key. They are not interested in trading paper contracts on the COMEX. They don't want silver ETFs. They need the real thing. They need the cold, hard, physical metal delivered to their doorstep.
Just look at this list for a moment. These aren't the names you typically associate with commodity markets. You've got BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world. You have Microsoft and OpenAI, the pioneers of the AI revolution. And you have NVIDIA, the company that designs the very chips that make AI possible. These are the architects of our technological future, and they've all quietly formed partnerships to build it. And when I say build it, I mean they are putting an unprecedented amount of capital to work. Through these massive, almost sci-fi sounding initiatives like the Stargate project and the AI infrastructure partnership, they are deploying a combined $500 billion. Let that number sink in. This isn't money to speculate on silver. This is money that requires silver to achieve its objective. It's a critical ingredient, not the end product. And here we get to the heart of it. Their goal is simple in concept, but staggering in scale. They are in a global arms race to build the physical backbone of artificial intelligence. We're talking about vast data centers, the size of small cities, the power grids needed to keep them running, the server farms, all the physical hardware that turns AI from an idea in the cloud into a reality on the ground. This really is the million-dollar question, or in this case, the $500 billion question. Why silver? Of all the elements on the periodic table, what makes this specific precious metal, something we usually think of for coins or jewelry, so utterly indispensable for the most advanced technology humanity has ever created? The answer is simple, and it comes down to one word: physics. Silver possesses the highest electrical conductivity of any element on Earth, period. There is no debate. In the world of high-performance computing, where every fraction of a percent of efficiency matters, and where managing immense heat and power is the primary challenge, there is simply no substitute for silver. You can't cheat physics. So when you look inside one of these new AI data centers, silver is literally everywhere. It's in the massive high-voltage switchgear that distributes enough power to run a town. It's soldered directly onto the server motherboards and using the capacitors that manage power flow to the chips. And it's absolutely critical for the high-speed networking components that have to shuttle unimaginable amounts of data back and forth. You see, silver is the lifeblood of the entire operation. Without it, the system grinds to a halt. Now, this quote really gets to the most crucial economic point of this entire story. This isn't investment demand, where a silver bar sits in a vault and could be sold back into the market tomorrow. This is industrial consumption. Once an ounce of silver is used in a server or a solar panel, it is locked into that piece of equipment for its entire lifespan. It's gone. For all practical purposes, it has been permanently removed from the available supply. And this dynamic creates what I'm calling the great imbalance. On one side of the scale, you have this new massive structural demand from the AI sector. It's long-term, and importantly, it's largely inelastic to price. Think about it. If you're spending $100 billion on a data center, are you going to stop construction because the price of silver doubles? Of course not. It's a rounding error. But on the other side of the scale, you have a supply chain that has been stagnant for years. It's incredibly slow to react. You can't just flip a switch and make more silver. Opening a new mine can take a decade or more. Now you have to understand the market was already under enormous pressure before this AI freight train arrived. We are now looking at the fifth consecutive year of a structural supply deficit. Let me repeat that because it's important. For 5 years straight, the world has consumed more silver than has been produced by every mine and every recycling facility on the planet combined. We've been drawing down our stockpiles, eating into our savings, just to meet existing demand. And the scale of this shortfall is truly breathtaking. For 2025 alone, the forecast is for a deficit of nearly 150 million ounces. That is a gigantic hole in the global supply chain. To put that in perspective, that's more silver than what many major producing nations mine in an entire year. And that deficit has to be filled from somewhere. The question is, from where? So the obvious question is, why can't we just mine more? It sounds simple, but the reality of silver mining is complicated. You see, a staggering 75% of the world's silver isn't mined from primary silver mines. It's actually a byproduct. It comes out of the ground when miners are really looking for other metals like zinc, lead, and copper. This means silver supply isn't primarily driven by the price of silver. It's tied to the global demand and economics of industrial metals. Miners won't open a massive new copper mine just because silver prices are high. It doesn't work that way. And don't just take my word for it. The people running the largest silver mining companies in the world are saying the exact same thing. The CEO of Pan American Silver has stated publicly that this is a fundamental change. He calls this structural deficit the new normal. This isn't a temporary blip caused by a short-term event. This is a permanent new source of demand that is reshaping the entire market landscape. This isn't just theory or numbers on a spreadsheet. It's having very real and very unusual consequences in the physical world. The market for deliverable silver bars has become so incredibly tight that we're seeing credible reports of companies chartering cargo planes to fly silver around the world just to meet delivery deadlines. I need you to understand how abnormal that is. Precious metals are dense. They move on ships, in armored trucks. You only fly them when you are absolutely desperate and time is critical. That's a sign of a market under extreme stress. And the price has responded exactly as you would expect in a market with a severe supply and demand imbalance. In the final months of 2025, silver didn't just climb, it went vertical. It shattered its 45-year-old price record from 1980. Then it blew past $57 an ounce, then $60, Before the year was out, it had set a stunning new record high of nearly $67 an ounce. The market was waking up to this new reality in a very big way. The numbers from 2024 really put this all into perspective. They set the stage for the explosion we saw in 2025. The world demanded 1.16 billion ounces of silver. But when you add up all the mine production and all the recycled scrap, the supply side could only muster just over 1 billion ounces. That left a deficit of about 146 million ounces before the truly massive AI projects even began to ramp up their consumption. The fire was already burning before someone threw gasoline on it. So, what we're really witnessing here is a perfect storm. It's a rare convergence of incredibly powerful forces. You have hundreds of billions of dollars of committed capital from the world's most powerful corporations. You have the hard physical constraints of a commodity market that can't respond quickly. And you have a brand new structural source of demand that is not only massive, but is set to grow for years to come. This is the single most important takeaway I want you to leave with today. BlackRock, Microsoft, and NVIDIA are not speculating on the price of silver. They're making a calculated, strategic, and necessary business decision. They have done the math. They understand their material requirements, and they are securing the physical supply chain they absolutely need to build the technological infrastructure that will power the global economy for the next 100 years. They are consuming it to build the future. The thing is, this AI infrastructure build-out that we're seeing right now, it's just the very beginning. These multi-billion-dollar projects will take years, even a decade, to fully complete. That means this massive new demand for silver is now locked in. It's not going away. And that leaves us with a profound and critical question. As the AI revolution continues to accelerate, what does that truly mean for the finite, physical materials that make it all possible? That's a question we should all be thinking about. Thank you for joining me on the Bullion Signal podcast. If you found this analysis valuable, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the forces shaping our world. Now for our disclaimer. The content in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not and should not be construed as financial or investment advice. You should always conduct your own research and consult with a professional before making any investment decisions. You and you alone are responsible for your own financial choices. Stay safe and stay informed.